Listen, this isn't your fault, okay? And your mother and I love you very much. But it turns out we can't really talk about infrastructure without talking about something else. And I know you're not going to like it, but I think it's important that we're all straight with each other. So I'm putting it on the table. This is actually a climate change episode. Also, I f***ed your mom. You may have seen that back in early August. Stop crying. You may have seen that back in early August, the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, released a 3,500-page report on the state of the global climate crisis. And you may have also blocked most of what it actually said from your mind, because it's really sad and horrible. And that might make it hard to function through the rest of your daily routine of watching this video a couple times. So, here's a quick recap.
It is unequivocal that human activities are responsible for climate change. That's the finding of a new study by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It's the most up-to-date assessment of how global warming will change the world in the coming decades. Environmental experts have called it a massive wake-up call to governments to cut emissions.
The panel concludes we'll see a lot more fires as temperatures continue to rise. And rise they will as greenhouse gas emissions keep growing and growing. The increased heat will change weather patterns, bringing more droughts and more rainfall, researchers say.
As a result, today we have the clearest picture of how the Earth's climate functions and how human activities affect it.
These radical changes to our climate are man-made and directly connected to our constant burning of fossil fuels. We've already raised global temperatures by about 1.2 degrees Celsius, and the IPCC notes that global warming is happening faster than we thought. It could unavoidably exceed another 1.5 degrees just over the next few decades, and there's pretty much nothing we can even do about that. Some other pretty major global changes, like rising sea levels due to melting ice sheets, are also largely inescapable at this point. The only way we can realistically stop or even slow this trend beyond the parts that are already locked in is by eliminating greenhouse gas emissions quickly, like right now. If you are personally emitting a greenhouse gas as you watch this, stop it! That's not me coming down on you. That's literally what the UN is saying. But also, by you, I'm mainly referring to mega corporations and also the regular kind. And perhaps we shouldn't buy into the idea that changing the environment is left to the individual when companies are barely held accountable for the massive damage they knowingly did. Anywho, the report was compiled by more than 200 experts from over 60 countries and cites more than 14,000 independent studies. Bear in mind, too, that historically, the IPCC has been cautious. The Reagan administration helped put the entire thing together, and that guy's only concern about a change in the climate was when Nancy told him he had to stop calling women broads. But you don't need some international panel of top nerds in their field who spent decades studying this specific problem to tell you that the weather is bad out there and getting worse. Although, why wouldn't you listen to them? That just seems ridiculous. But no, I encourage you to do your own research here. Like maybe, I don't know, open up a window. Back in June, the Pacific Northwest was hit by a record heat wave of an intensity never before recorded in that part of the world by human beings. It was over 108 degrees in Portland, hot enough to motivate up to 15 guys to remove their beanies.
The heat in the Pacific Northwest burning through records. In Portland, Oregon, the temperature Sunday at 112, the hottest ever recorded there, and it could reach 114 today.
And look, we're not just talking about the world getting hotter in isolation. That's a common and inaccurate way of dismissing this problem. Like, we'll all just adjust by enjoying a daily creamsicle with the fridge door open and selling our beachfront condos to those sea monster kids from Luca or something. We're talking about a radical series of alterations to the way our planet functions, which is going to introduce a whole host of changes, most of them very dangerous for tiny, fleshy, fragile human bodies and entirely unpredictable, even for our smartest, tiny, fleshy, fragile human brains. I know brains aren't technically like flesh, it's fine. move on. Climate change fuels what some cool, slick scientists, who obviously also understand branding, have termed weather whiplash, describing a situation in which conditions shift rapidly between extremes. A 2018 paper suggests that California could soon see an increase in both very wet and very dry weather, plus an increase in the frequency when a very wet year follows a very dry year. In July, Western Europe experienced record floods that killed 189 people and left thousands without power or access to drinking water. The Colorado River, which supplies water to 40 million people, not to mention providing hydroelectric power and irrigation water to crops across 7 US and 2 Mexican states, is running out of water. A thing we need. Hurricane season starts earlier all the time, and the higher temperatures make the storms themselves larger and higher intensity. In fact, just last month, monsoon-type rains near Douglas, Arizona actually started to blow down portions of former President Trump's border wall. Wait a second! It was going to turn our entire southern border into an impenetrable fortress! This thing was supposed to stand proudly through a 1,000-year Reich! Boy, I hope Mexico gets their money back. And that's not just a hilarious example, but an instructive, hilarious example. These massive storms and wildfires and other consequences of the steady rise in global temperatures are just going to keep impacting our infrastructure in bigger and more all-consuming ways. And our cities and towns and roads and ports must be designed and upgraded in ways that consider the changes that are coming to our climate over the next few months, years, and decades. We try to put them into these separate buckets so we can deal with them sensibly one at a time, but this is like trying to follow a story by only focusing on one character. Okay, I get what's happening with Miss Piggy. She's being seduced by Charles Grodin because who wouldn't be? But how does Gonzo fit into all of this? Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Here's the evergreen end plate to ask you to like and subscribe. It's any day of the year where you are.